good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are coming through from the globe. Welcome to the Globalese by Introducing Globalese by memoQ webinar. My name is Balázs Kis, and today we will tell you a story of how and why memoQ and Globalese decided to continue their journey together. It's about translation automation. It's about powering translation automation with AI. It's about machine translation. And you don't have to listen to me. I will soon introduce our esteemed panelists. But before we do that, I'd like to call your attention to a few housekeeping rules. So the webinar will be recorded and the recording will be made available on the memoq.com site. The webinar will start with a joint presentation from the three of us that will last about 40 minutes. And after that, we will have a Q&A, questions and answer session in 10 to 15 minutes. And if we run out of time and are not able to provide answers to all of the questions, we will follow up on them later. Because of the large number of the participants and also to preserve the sound quality and the flow of the webinar, participants will be muted, and we are asking everybody to post your questions in Zoom's Q&A window. So you will find this at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and you will be able to type your questions, and you will be able to ask questions in a way that we, who are running the webinar, can track the questions and the answers. So we will know what has been answered and what is new. And feel free, and you can do that anytime during the webinar, and my colleagues will be watching these questions, and I will also be watching these questions while the webinar is going on. And without any further ado, we will jump into introducing Globalese by memoQ, and this will be presented by three of us. So you have here Gábor Bessenyei, who is the founder of Globalese and the person that knows the Globalese product line the best amongst us. He will introduce Globalese, the translation automation product. He will also conduct some demonstrations. Then we will have Jay Marciano, president of the Association for Machine Translation in the Americas. I hope I expanded the acronym correctly. If not, Jay will have the opportunity to correct me later. He will provide further insights on why this is a good idea, because we all believe this is a good idea. And finally, I, Balázs Kis, will MC this and also provide an introduction to the show. Every speaker will be able to introduce themselves in greater detail when their part starts. So let me just say a couple of words about why we at memoQ reached out originally during the summer to Globalese to offer an opportunity to continue working together. And we found that for many reasons, this is a perfect match to bring together memoQ and Globalese. And it's not because both companies were founded by Hungarians or because some of the founders of both companies have known each other for 20 years or more, but because both companies were looking for a way forward that is meaningful and provides for more growth and obviously more value for the customers. So Globalese is the kind of system that can greatly benefit from a closer access to customers' resources, because Globalese is known for custom-built machine translation and AI-powered translation automation solutions, which are dependent on the resources that appear at the customer, at the translation buyer, so to say. And memoQ also was exploring new methods to automate localization on top of the resource management that already exists in memoQ TMS. One such approach was something that memoQ themselves came up with, and that's AGT, Adaptive Generative Translation, which will remain in the offer independently from Globalese. But Globalese provides a lot of value that doesn't exist in AGT, doesn't exist in the core memoQ TMS, and this is something that Gábor, the founder of Globalese, will be able to tell us very soon. And before we go into that, I'd like to point out a few things about the way forward, because these are questions that were asked inside the team and were asked in many settings when we were preparing the integration with Globalese. So obviously, going forward, you will be able to get memoQ TMS plus Globalese machine translation or AI-powered solutions together from memoQ. We are now working on making the integration deeper to produce the most complete, but the closest integration of translation automation system with a lot of new opportunities and values. Yes, you can still get Globalese MT without memoQ TMS from memoQ. Yes, we will keep existing Globalese integrations. So you might know that Globalese as a machine translation system is integrated in various translation tools, translation management systems. These integrations will remain in place and remain available. And yes, we will also keep the existing memoQ plus machine translation integration. That means that memoQ remains integrated with third-party machine translation solutions to provide the customers with the most flexible options. But I think that is about the basics, and I would like to hand over to Gábor to give us a deeper dive into Globalese. Gábor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Balázs. Just a second, please. I need to share my screen. Now you should be able to see my slides. And yeah, first of all, I'm very happy to be here. Welcome, everybody. My name is Gábor Bessenyei. As Balázs mentioned, I'm one of the founder of Globalese. And I have now the honor to show to you tell you a little bit about the system. Before I start demonstrating the system and to tell you about the features, just a few words about why I personally think it's a perfect match working together with memoQ. And the reason is very simple, because I believe that the technology or the industry is too much focusing on the core technology when it's about quality. And I believe that quality, or one of the best chances to improve the quality, is not only in the underlying technology, for example, the GPT models or the neural MT models, but it's also very important to have additional components on it. Like clean data is at least as important than the technology, what is in the background. Deep integration, metadata, so all these around the technology, these factors are at least as important to get proper quality, to get the best out of the technology, get perfect translations, or almost perfect translations. And I hope that Jay will agree with that, and we'll tell later more about that in the second half of the webinar. So this is why I'm, from professional point of view, really excited, because now we have the opportunity not only focus on the underlying technology, the GPT and NMT technology, but also on all this content around us, around what is available now with memoQ. A few words about Globalese itself. So if in short, we look at Globalese like we look at it like a platform which enables users to train custom models. Originally it was based on neural MT technology. Now we switched to, or we are now also integrating AI models, GPT-based models. A few words about the history. So we were one of the early adopters who created a platform to train custom neural MT engines back in 2018. And in last year, or almost a little bit more than one year, we were one of the early adopters of large language models, or with fancy word AI technology for machine translation. And what are the highlights of Globalese? It's basically, we are supporting a bunch of language combinations. We are strong in integration, especially if it's about the API. So we have the plugins for the integration with several TMS systems, and this is what we will teach. I mean, these different integration options, but even more important, I think, is the API option for any kind of automated process automation and workflow automation. Tag handling is something which is mostly underestimated when it's coming about quality. So handling tags properly is one of the, I think, one of the most important quality factors when it's about machine translation. And we are proud about it, that this is one of the advantages Globalese has. And the Globalese can be consumed, results from Globalese can be used from the either in the cloud subscription or as an on-premises systems. Dynamic terminology adaptation is one of the advantages we have, and custom prompts, which I will demonstrate to actually in the system. Let's talk about the traditional neural MT technology. Here, what we have in the background, the proprietary technology is the domain adapted models. Okay, so let's talk about the technology, or the what is behind the neural MT technology. This is proprietary technology of Globalese. We call it domain adapted models, automated domain adaptation. And the concept behind this is that we try to create or design a system which enables users to run models in a self-service scenario. So you don't need to be an NLP engineer. It was designed for the low resource situations because typically users don't have the high amount of data by themselves. So it's important to have a system which can run already with a smaller amount of custom data. And based on this data, the domain adaptation is happening in an automated process, so no specific knowledge is required. And what is important, what we say always, is that volume is not everything. Volume is only one part in the story. Quality and finding the right resources for your engine is at least as important than the volume. So that's quality is at least as important. Best scenarios where typically Globalese is shining is the translation of documentation, user guides, or any kind of content where style, terminology is important, and where the content is heavily tagged or heavily formatted. So these are the best scenarios for Globalese. So you can imagine that in a way that here you have your in-domain data, for example, the content of your product, the help documentation of your product, just as an example. Then you have some additional auxiliary data. And what is important, this is why we call it automated domain adaptation. It's not simply mixing the two training data sets in a big, large data set and then train the engine. And we are not further training an existing engine. We are first automatically selecting the relevant data from this huge additional auxiliary data set. This is what is called this. So this is an automated domain-based selection process. And based on that, we are creating always a targeted data set, which is really focusing on your on the content of what you have. And on top, we are tuning the engine further, so that will ensure that this engine will really focus on the content that you have in your what we are calling master data set. I will show this later on in real life in the system, how you can imagine it. And then the next generation engine models we have, what we are calling the AI powered or AI boosted engines or models. These are basically based on so we are combining, it's a kind of hybrid system. So we are still utilizing output from the neural MT models, and the neural MT model is still trained in the background, but the actual output is coming from the large language model. So it's really GPT-based AI boosted, or you can call it whatever you like. And the main concept is that we are using future translation, which means that we try to create as many. We try to improve the content in the prompt as good as possible. This is what we are calling dynamic prompting. I don't want to go into the details, but this is basically the real magic behind the story, to provide the best information in the background to the engine in the prompt or to the model, which then is providing the best possible output. With the AI boosted models, now you have the option to add glossaries or term list, or we are calling them keyword lists. You can add custom prompts, and what we are working very hardly on is what is on our roadmap is the context-aware translation, which means that we try to move away from the segment-based approach and provide larger content, bigger context, like paragraphs or even documents or files to the model. And this is just a quick introduction, and now it's time to jump into the system. So let's show you the engine, how you can. So here you can see the Globalese web user interface. It's a browser-based interface, and this is now a very typical engine setup. This is based on the memoQ help documentation. You can see here we have about 100,000 segment pairs in the training data. This is what is called master corpora. And we have some additional data in the background coming from Globalese itself, the stock data, which is available in the background. So you don't have to do anything to get this. It's already available. And we have here, in that case, a prompt asking for informal speech in the translation. And you can see here you have different versions of the same engine setup. The other version is basically very much the same. The difference is that here in the custom prompt, we are asking for formal speech. And we have a keyword list, and within the keyword list, you can see that the expression language service provider is now, we are asking the engine to use, instead of, you will see it, the original translation is Sprachdienstleister, so which is the German translation for language service provider. But here we are asking the system to use another words, meaning translation agency, Übersetzungsbüro. And by simply switching between the two versions, you can change how the system, the behavior of the system. And if I'm going now to memoQ, this is now already an example. This is now showcasing you basically the advantage of or the capabilities of the tag handling. You can see here that storage, Speicher, the opening closing text are already at the right place around the right word. Gelb, so the yellow, which is also marked with a specific color, so it's in the open closing tag, and red is also placed well. So basically, the post editor has very few, typically nothing to do, but sometimes some adjustment is required. For example, here I can see now this small ampersand, this should be here, but otherwise the placing is perfect, and of course no tag is missing. What is also interesting, I think it's a little bit, I have to scroll down. Yes, this is the other example I would like to show to you. This is now again, so here what is interesting to see that the word TM editor and this inline tag, which is representing a product name. So this is something which will be replaced when the translation is generated. I mean, the final file will be generated. You can see here in the original version, the the placeholder tag is at the first place, and then the open closing tag is at the second place. This is now changed in the translation properly. So according to the linguistic output to the right quality, so TM editor is added surrounded with the right tag. And what is interesting that the system is recognizing that here a kind of product name will be inserted because this is the inline tag, and you can see that memoQs. So here this is this S. This is so this will be then the generated output, and in the translation it's also placed properly. The TM editor von memoQ be that here, so etc. So it's not only the placement but also the grammar and the translation, which is then adjusted accordingly. So that's why this is demonstrating you the text handling. And now I will switch to the other version. This will take 1 minute, maybe two, because the engine has to be redeployed. But otherwise, while it's deploying, I can tell you that basically you can create new versions of an engine and it will not cost you any cents. So changing the keyword list, changing the prompts will not change the output. Also will not have an impact on the pricing. So it's basically for free. Okay, now the new engine version is available, and now when I'm going back and I'm switching to another project file where I can show you. So this here you can see that this was from output from the other earlier version where it was asking for informal speech. So sorry, I have to jump out. Sometimes it's caching the results. This is why it was not appearing. So here it was using the informal speech, and you will see now it's optimieren Sie. I will insert the translation now. And optimieren Sie Ihre Übersetzung. So it now changed the output. So it's from the previous informal speech, it was switching to formal speech. And here you can see this was the previous translation for Sprachdienstleister, which was the original translation. And now you can see here in the translation in the interactive translation panel that it was changed to Übersetzungsbüros. So now the behavior of the engine has changed simply by switching between the two versions. So depending on the keyword list and the custom prompt. And speaking about the custom prompts, you can look at it like a kind of instruction you can add to the engine. So it's not like in ChatGPT where you should add a complete story. It's a simple instructions. Please use informal speech. Please use American English in the spelling. Please replace the or please anonymize bank account numbers or such things. This is how it's working. And the same goes for the keyword list. So by switching the keyword list, you can quickly adjust the output of the engine. And you can even use phrases, and you don't need to care to add the different forms like the plural form. It's the simple standard form, and the engine will adapt automatically. And basically, this is what I would want. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the presentation. And if you have any questions later on, I'm happy to answer them. And I'm passing it now back to.
Sorry, thank you, Gábor. There was one question that we might want to take now because Anne-Britt Donovan is asking, can you give us an example of a dynamic prompt? And apologies if you have touched on that already, but.
Sorry, dynamic prompt means, so with dynamic prompt, this is exactly what we mean, that here, in this case, you can dynamically, so it's not on runtime, I mean, it's not during the same translation, but you can simply, without retraining, without any specific change, you can create basically, if you go here to the editing, you can simply change here the instruction, and once the once you have saved the new version, this instruction will take effect instantly. So this is what we are calling dynamic prompting. We are also on the roadmap. We are working on adapting content also on additional metadata. For example, if you have specific text around the content, and this is exactly a typical or an example where the deep integration with memoQ will be a great advantage, that we can now go into such directions that we can look at deeper metadata information and then adjust the output based on the metadata and apply, for example, different prompts depending on what metadata is available or what tags are available in the source. So this is one of the examples. But dynamic prompting means in that scenario this kind of behavior.
Thank you, Gábor. We are receiving further questions that we will address at the end of the presentation. For now, I'd like to hand over to Jay Marciano, president of the AMTA, to share his views about current trends in translation automation and how this integration of memoQ and coming together of memoQ and Globalese fits into the trends. Obviously, I don't want to constrain Jay, and I am really curious to hear his views. Thank you, Jay. The floor is yours, and tell me when you need to change the slide.
Thank you very much. And just you can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Super. So just as a brief introduction to what AMTA is, so I've been invited to speak about this really interesting coming together of Globalese and memoQ in my capacity as president of AMTA. And AMTA, and Balázs, you did get, in fact, the acronym correct, is the Association for Machine Translation in the Americas. We were founded back in 1991, and this past October, we celebrated 30 years of giving conferences, our first conference way back in 1994. And just in Chicago recently, we had our biennial conference, and we had 200 people, half of them in person, half of them online, representing really the broad machine translation community, researchers, developers, providers, and really cutting-edge users of MT. And they come together to share their experiences, their latest developments, their latest efforts on using MT to solve multilingual challenges. So I just wanted to go through some of the big trends that came out. When you think that our last full conference was in October of 2022, and you may recall that in November of 2022, that's when ChatGPT became available. So in the fall of 2022, at our last conference, there was some murmuring about LLMs, but there really wasn't much going on in terms of any research yet in terms of using it for MT at the time. Just 2 years later, so earlier this month, fully 65% of all of the presentations were about LLMs, AI, generative AI, or multimodal translation, which is basically when you have an LLM that's trained on more than just text, so you can train it on other kinds of data as well. Now, it was also the consensus that trained NMT currently does produce the most consistent and best quality. However, the great flexibility of LLMs in the translation workflow and translation use cases is simply an intense area of interest and investment right now. Basically, people are trying everything as we move forward. And I'm sure you heard in Gábor's voice when he talked about the roadmap, his excitement about some of the things that are coming up and they're trying. Something that was demonstrated by several different companies was that the prompting of an LLM for batch translation, so in other words, not going up to ChatGPT sentence by sentence and asking for a translation, but by using an integrated prompt into a true translation management system, where this prompt includes high fuzzy matches, which Gábor talked about as being few-shot learning. So you give it some examples with those high fuzzy matches. You give it terminology. You can provide it context as well by including the previous and the next paragraph even. And additional instruction, which you just saw as well in Gábor's demonstration with, and this was not planned ahead of time, with degrees of formality as an example here, which is exactly what Gábor just showed you. That doing this prompting has a dramatic result in the translation quality and does not require the computationally very expensive retraining of either a neural machine translation system or of an LLM. So, and this is something that came up again and again, that this use of LLMs in translation is indeed extremely flexible and very promising. And then another thing that was mentioned in several presentations was that LLMs, with their flexibility, can be used well beyond just providing a translation in different steps that are worked into the translation workflow, such as automated quality assessment, automated post-editing, error analysis and annotation. So you can certainly envision having an LLM that is not only able to say that something is potentially wrong, but to give you a rationale for why the translation might be wrong. And that could be provided to a human evaluator who's making the very last quality checks, for instance. So all of these things can be used together to work towards something that Balázs mentioned very early on. That's deeper and greater automation of the translation process, what is often called hyper automation. So where you are automating really everything that you can possibly automate during the translation workflow. And all of this points to the very simple fact that as LLMs and NMT are used throughout the translation workflow that the tightness of integration between the TMS systems and the data repositories and whatever AI systems are being brought to bear is increasingly critical. So having your learning algorithms very close to your data and having both of those very close to your ability to manipulate workflows. These are things that will allow us to approach this idea of hyperautomation, will allow us to have human beings working in a much more collaborative, give and take way with these more and more intelligent underlying systems. And there's work going on, research going on in all kinds of areas around this. And I have here the link to our proceedings from the conference. They're publicly available. If you go to the ACL Anthology .org, you can download all of the papers and the presentations that were given at AMTA 2024. So my overall point here is that the combination that we're talking about here, bringing Globalese and memoQ closer together, really echoes a lot of the things that the machine translation community was talking about in great depth just a few weeks ago. So this is a very timely decision, and I think it's something that's great for both groups, for both Globalese and for memoQ.
Thank you very much, Jay. And I only want to add one thing to this, is that our goal, our objective with this coming together is to provide better value for customers. So obviously, if they don't benefit from this, then this whole thing doesn't really make sense, but we know it will. So we are moving forward and are very excited about the future of this cooperation. Now we are ready to take questions, and I am reviewing the questions that are in the Q&A pane. Most of the questions are directed at Gábor, so please brace for them, and you are very, very welcome to throw them back at me whenever you feel like that. But please unmute, because I'm going to read a number of questions that, to the best of my knowledge, you will be able to answer. I will only read the first names of the askers, so I minimize the risk of butchering someone's last name. So Joshua is asking, does Globalese support non-Latin languages, primarily Hebrew to English?
Yes, the answer is yes. And I'm sorry to if it's okay for you, just to reflecting to the first question about dynamic prompting, because I was a little bit confused and I just answered the wrong. I provided the wrong answer because I was thinking on custom prompts, and I showed the custom prompts. But with dynamic prompting, an example for the dynamic prompt is exactly what Jay mentioned before. That we try to collect, for example, high fuzzy matches are part of the prompt if available. We are generating terminology list based on the NMT outputs as well, because custom NMTs, which was trained on the in-domain data, is great source for the user terminology. So we are including that output or that source as an input into the prompt if available, and so on and so on. So there are a bunch of different stuff happening. We call it dynamic because it's not static. So it's depending on what is available. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's not that big. So it's but we always try to generate the best possible output into the prompt. I mean the input into the source into the prompt, what will then improving the quality. But and yes, so other languages, so not only so it's yes, non-Latin languages like Japanese, Arabic, and other languages, Vietnamese even are supported, Chinese as well.
Thank you very much. Actually, the next question is similar. Martin is asking, is Irish one of the languages covered by the system? I'm supposing it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is, but it's also important to mention that based on the current concept of Globalese, we are working on it to have it also, so to lower the entry points where an engine can be starting to be used. But at the moment, you need some kind of in-domain training data by yourself. So this is one of the prerequisites you have. The technical limitation at the moment is about 15, so 15,000 translation units. If you have this entry level, then you can basically then the number of language combinations is basically covering all of the Alien and common Alien languages and Middle East languages as well.
Thank you. That sounds exciting. Actually, one of Globalese's strengths is to be able to work on data provided by the customer and working on a limited data set, because it's important to keep the ends private, and it's important to recognize that customers, translation buyers, translation producers don't always have an endless source of data in a given language pair. So, and technology providers must be able to accommodate that. I think I will take the next question, because it asks about the relationship between Globalese by memoQ and AGT. Benjamin is asking, how is the relationship between Globalese by memoQ and AGT? Will AGT become a part of Globalese by memoQ, or is this two separate offerings? What I can say to that is currently these are two entirely independent offerings. They are completely separate. We are currently thinking of how to integrate them and if it's necessary to integrate them. So I don't have a very definite answer for you at the moment, but we will come up with something very soon. And I'm sorry, I can't give you a more specific answer, but this is where we are with integration. Thank you. Next question asked by Kenneth. Is Globalese integration with memoQ TMS currently available? Yes, it is. Gábor, do you want to say anything to add to this?
Yes, we have. So there is a private plugin, public plugin available already. I'm not sure about the exact, I think it's 10.2 when it was first implemented and above. But for the lower versions, we have some private plugins available. And one of the exciting things to me is that we started working on on improving the existing plugin, which I hope will provide an even better user experience for those who are using memoQ in combination with Globalese.
Thank you. So takeaway here is this, that yes, the integration is already available. We are working to deepen it. And if you cannot find a readily available Globalese plugin in your version of memoQ TMS, feel free to reach out to memoQ, because we will be able to provide you with one. Thank you. Birgit is asking, can you use an exported memoQ term base as a keyword list, including forbidden terms, or will it have to be processed before use with Globalese? Gábor, this is for you. And I guess it is about the current state of the art.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very interesting question, because I think that would be worth a webinar for its own. Because so speaking about the keyword list or terminology list, the naming convention, so the name keyword list we have chosen for this feature is by purpose, because we wanted to focus make the users understanding that they have to be very careful with so it's a terminology list used in a human translation project is not necessarily a good fit for to be added one by one into a machine translation project, simply because humans require different information. So this is one very important point we always say. So terminology itself is typically coming from the training data itself. It's already included there because it's your custom data. So you don't need to add necessarily a custom glossary on top of that. So the keyword list is really used to fine-tune the results, because sometimes you need still some unification of your output. Then in that case, you can use it. And for example, yes, and this is then I hope the answer to the direct question is that you can also use it as for example, for non-translatables or for items. So for example, for product names, which should be kept always in the same way. While this is, I have to add the disclaimer, you cannot go into a very extreme. So because sometimes during the trials, users are trying to say, okay, let's ask the engine to translate instead black white or something like that. This is not always working well because this is somehow so deeply integrated. I mean, in the large language model that some very strange tweaks are not always working. But basically, yes, the keyword list can be also used for non-translatable items or basically for anything where the output should be really strict, always the same.
Thank you, Gábor. And actually, one thing I would add here is that to make the memoQ resources readily available for Globalese without having to go to the Globalese user interface and importing things is as further down the roadmap. So this is something that we don't have yet, but this is also something that we want to work towards.
And maybe, sorry, but just a very quick interruption to that or addition to that. Because the other good way, as you probably, if you can remember in the demo, if you have items which should not be translated, if you are preparing your memoQ project in the right way, and if you can add non-translatable items as a placeholder tag. So you can and then this will prevent Globalese from translating them while it still plays back. So one of the options, so our recommendation is that if you have a very strict non-translatable list, then it's the best way, or the most state-of-the-art way would be to already use prepare your project that way, that it's excluded, because this will help you during your human translation, because it will also improve the quality during the human review phase, because humans cannot touch that. And so the engine, so the engine cannot touch it. So that's one of the best practices. And the keyword list can be added on top if still required.
Thank you. Evelyn is asking, would the user be able to select their own underlying LLM, e.g. ChatGPT or GPT-3 or 4 versus Claude, for instance?
Yeah, this is also a very good question. And the answer is at the moment, no. At the moment, it's fixed. But this is also something which we are looking at. I mean, it's please don't take it as any statement, but this is one of the interest, or let's say research areas to enable users to use their own LLM, either for the purpose because they would like to simply run it in their own private clouds, for example, or the other scenario could be because they have some LLM based on their own data. So that could be the other use scenario. But this is, I have to say that at the moment, this is not available, but this is something that we are considering for the future.
Okay. Gábor, currently it's Azure OpenAI 3.5 Turbo, right?
Oh, yes, exactly. It's the
same as AGT. Yeah.
Exactly. There's slight difference. If you go into the technical details, there's one slight difference. We are using the instruct module, not the thread module within that.
Yep. Thank you. Here's another question. Can you also create prompts for style and tonality? I think you can, but
yes, you can. So basically, in the prompts, you can like for me, formal switching between formal and informal speech is also some kind of style switch. But I have to say this is not an exact. I'm prompting. I mean, custom prompts. This is not an exact science at the moment. So this is why we designed it in a way that you can switch to a new version without. So you can freely switch to a new version. Because sometimes the prompt is working very well, but sometimes it's simply not working. I have to say that we have some scenarios where it's not taking effect simply, but and we are also about to try to collect the most efficient prompts in our on our help portal, so that users have a bunch of already very well working instructions. Yeah. So just to finish it, it's basically depending on the prompts, how you are formulating the prompt, and in many cases it's working amazingly, but sometimes it's not taking effect, and this is something you have to figure out simply.
That always fascinated me, that the current large language model is a kind of AI that is the least predictable of technologies that I have ever seen. And you must also know that if you change the LLM, for instance, you go from GPT 3.5 Turbo to Claude, you will need to restructure your prompts because it's a different prompt structure that would work the same way. So if you just have a set of prompts and you switch the LLM, then you will have this unpleasant surprise of your prompts not working.
Yes, and yes, so maybe just one quick addition to that. It's not necessarily only instructions, but you can also use it to specify the domain, for example, and it will also have an impact on the output. For example, you can say, okay, this is now IT domain with Microsoft content, or this is user interface content, or something like that, and then this will also have an impact. So it's not necessarily a direct instruction, but anything, but it's basically it will get part of the prompt, and it can have an impact, or typically it will have an impact on the output.
I'm happy to report that we have an immense amount of questions, so we are plowing through them, but I'm pretty sure that some questions we will run out of time, and we will have some questions remaining that we will be following up on after the webinar. But for now, we are moving ahead. Stefan is asking, where is the translation by Globalese generated? On the memoQ TMS or in some cloud service? This is about data privacy. What I can say to this is that Globalese has the same deployment options as memoQ does, and this is one of the things that make the match between memoQ and Globalese so perfect, because as memoQ is available in the public cloud, in the private cloud, and also on premises, the same is true for Globalese. So if your data privacy and data security is paramount, and you have data that simply cannot be shared on the cloud, you can ask for an on-premises implementation of Globalese, just like you can do that with memoQ TMS. And in that case, the translation will be generated on a system controlled by you, owned and controlled by you. Gábor, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah. Basically, I can just summarize what you already mentioned. So it's if it's about the AI boosted engines, they are running at the moment in Azure cloud.
That's an exception. Yeah.
And this is at the moment due to technical restrictions or technical circumstances. So that's one point. It's still in the EU region. So from GDPR point of view, it's processed within the European Union. That's important. And if you have a scenario where you have even more restricted IP or confidentiality, then as Balázs mentioned, you have the option for on-premises, so running Globalese as an on-premises, and in that case, it can be completely the content will stay completely within your or behind your firewall. Let's say it that way.
Thank you. That's a question that I want to address before any others. Someone is asking, is Globalese free? And if not, how much is it going to cost? No, Globalese isn't free. Globalese is specifically a business-to-business application and always had a price. And a service provided by Globalese always had a price. This might change as the business model attached to Globalese might change in the near future, and we will be communicating about it in time. So I cannot give you numbers at the moment, because Globalese is working on data that are very specific to the particular customer. Many times it is going to be an individual quote. That said, we will publish some pricing information soon, but it is not there yet. Thank you very much.
But maybe, sorry, Balázs, if you speak
Yep.
about data handling and confidentiality, of course, any of the data used in Globalese, I mean, customer data is not used for anything else than to train the customer's engine. Everything the system is a single tenant system, so you are not sharing anything with other users. And your data, I mean, user data stays at the user and is not used for any other. So we are not incorporating it into the generic engines or generic models or something like that. It's really just used for the and here we are very strict because we know how important this is.
Question by Julia. I'm not sure whether this was mentioned, but is it possible to prompt Globalese to follow a TM attached to a project? For instance, make sure to take 90% to 101% matches from the TM, just like for keywords lists. Thank you.
Yeah, this is at the moment, this would be, basically, this is something we are considering. I mean, if you speak about how to combine AGT and Globalese, because AGT is providing such option to where you can set the level of the fuzzy matches and the number. At the moment, Globalese is working slightly differently. So we have basically it's not coming from the at the moment, it's not coming from the project. The TM is coming from what is added to the engine. It's typically a larger data set. That's what is used typically in a project. So this is and we have a, let's say we are not providing at the moment the option to the users to influence this behavior. I mean, the number of fuzzy matches, for example, it cannot be set, or because yeah, that's for, let's say, for this is a good question, because if it makes sense at the moment, we think that this is a kind of good balance at the moment with the custom prompts and with how we are working now, that it's flexible enough, but still close enough so that it's not too free, but all, I mean, it gives you a freedom as a user, but not too much freedom, so that it's not confusing. So but later on we might change this. This is one of the things we are now looking at when we look at the roadmap and how to integrate, how to merge.
Thank you. So basically, you use the TMs to train or fine tune Globalese.
Yes,
but
yes.
For now, you use the TM match filtering in AGT, which can
no. Sorry. The TM match filtering is basically proprietary. So we use our own internal. Let's say at the moment it's a Globalese internal fuzzy matching and fuzzy matching algorithm and concept behind it, based on the TM, which is provided as a master TM. So it's
sorry, Gábor, this is why I mentioned AGT, which has a similar feature. Thank you. I apologize to those who asked technical questions that would require a longer answer, because we are getting close to the end of our time. I will cherry pick questions that sound more business-like, in the sense that they are not very technical. Obviously, we will answer everything. If you use Globalese in memoQ and then supply the translation to a translation agency, can the agency identify from the XLIF file that Globalese was used? To my knowledge, they cannot, because what you might have in the XLIF file is that the original translation was generated by machine translation, but it won't say which system. Usually, when you use a match, the XLIF file will have the match rate and the status or the type of the match determines this, but I don't think. We need to check this, but to the best of my knowledge, the source system that generated the original match is not identified there. There's this question that we have already touched on. In light of this collaboration, what are memoQ's plans for memoQ AGT? We are figuring out at the moment, and we will come up with something very soon. David is asking, memoQ, who has a reputation for quirky names, for instance, Zen button Muses, is there a danger the designation on Globalese might join this list? We have considered this, and we decided that Globalese is the best name for this service, so it will stay. We just renamed it Globalese by memoQ, and this is what we intend to keep. Is Globalese available in the translators version of memoQ? Yes, it is through the public plugins, Gábor. Unless you have any contradicting information, this is my best knowledge here.
Yes. So from technical point of view, it's available both in the server and the translator version. So it's basically from technical point of view, it's a standard empty plugin.
How do we start using this product? The old Globalese website seems gone now. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm not prepared to answer that, but it's an important question. Can we answer that, Gábor, or do we follow
Hopefully it
up on
should be
this?
there. I mean, it was just rerouted to the memoQ site. So Globalese product site is now integrated into memoQ product sites. But maybe it's now moved because it's the last time I saw it, it was there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at my colleagues here. We should probably follow up with a link to the Globalese site in its new place, if there is one. Does memoQ or Globalese have any plans for QA error detection inside a Cat 2 using LLMs? And this is the last question because we are at the end of our time. Yes, we have plans on the roadmap, but Gábor, my information is that Globalese specifically had something like that on the roadmap.
Yes, absolutely. So this is again, as Jay also said, it's not only about machine translation. It's not only being an MP within memoQ. It's also about bringing LLM technology overall the platform and the system. So, for example, in the QA checks, which is extremely important, both for translators. So, I mean, from the human translation perspective, but also if you speak about custom engines, custom data, cleaning up, automated quality assurance and improved quality assurance is, of course, one of the essential steps. So we have definitely this on our radar.
Thank you. So I'm afraid we have to wrap up for now because we are at the top of the hour. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us and to ask the questions. We have 14 questions remaining that we didn't have time to answer. We will follow up on these questions, so no question will be forgotten or neglected. But for now, I need to say goodbye. So thank you very much for your attention. And of course, the recording will be made available. And until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.